Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Transfer Show. It's Tuesday evening. We are 3 days out from the start of the season. Can't believe it has crept up so quick. Joining me, as always, for the Transfer Show, my partner in crime, the Dazzler, Darren. How are we, Darren?
I'm doing good, Niall. I'm very good, pal. I have to say, yeah, I am buzzing for this weekend. This is a big, big weekend. Football is back, everybody. Come on.
Can't wait for it to start Friday night. Crystal Palace versus Arsenal is going to be classic. Just a little short bit of
It's gonna be.
housekeeping for people.
Say, have you ever been so excited to watch Arsenal play a game?
Well, they opened it up last season as well with a really good game, wasn't it? Well, up at Brentford.
I think it's 3 years in the bounce they've opened it up, if I'm right.
Is it? I'm not too sure. I know last year was Brentford, all right. Just a little bit of
I think it's
housekeeping for
three. I
our
think
viewers.
didn't Leicester beat them
Just
the
a little
first
bit
year?
of housekeeping for our viewers there. Just on Thursday night, our Thursday tier talk will be mainly made up of a Premier League preview, where we will be previewing all the games for the weekend coming up. But also our Beat the Bookie show will return on that show as well. So just a note for your diaries that the Thursday tier talk will now be your Premier League preview and your Beat the Bookie show. That'll be coming at you Thursday evening. Um, where do we begin? Plenty going on at the moment.
At the start.
At the start. Well, the start for us is this man here.
Let's begin at the start.
Well, I suppose we should start really with Morris, shouldn't we? Morris is in the comments. Arsenal are exciting.
We
It
should.
can either
We should always start with Morris.
Arsenal are exciting. It can either go good for them
It can
or
either
they will
go good
fall
for
apart.
them or it'll fall apart.
Entertainment value. I think Arsenal are going to have a real good season.
Entertainment value, yeah.
Mm. But we're going to start
I do too.
tonight with.
Yeah, I do too.
Where are we going to start? We're going to start with this man. Seems like Newcastle want to upgrade the value of what they're starting to buy in, and they've targeted James Maddison. They had an initial bid of 40 million turned down, and I'm hearing this evening they went in with a second bid of 50 million, and that has also been turned down, which I am not surprised. Leicester being the absolute stranglehold of transfer fees when it comes to transfer fees. What do you make of this boy if he went to Newcastle?
I think it's a really, really good idea from Newcastle. If I'm honest, he's young, he's English, he's proven in the league. I think this is a really, really good attempt to upgrade that starting 11. I think he's exactly the kind of player that they need. But I think 40 million was derogatory. I have to be honest with you. If you look at what Man City paid for Jack Grealish last season, and you look at the 40 million that Newcastle have offered for James Maddison, I think it's cheeky beyond belief. If Leicester let him go for anything less than 65 million, they're not getting value for money.
Yeah, and it's kind of a situation when you're dealing with Leicester as well. If you do go in with a derogatory bid like that, they tend to take offence to it, don't they? And they'll absolutely strangle you for money then. You'd be better off going in with something a bit more believable and acceptable to enter a negotiation rather than trying to be kind of a little bit smart with them. But what you thinking on Leicester at the moment? I mean, Leicester would have been one of those teams we would have expected to sort of, step up into that top 8, top 6 kind of, competitive side of things. But it's gone a little bit skew-ways for Brendan, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I think, if you look in recent days, Kasper Schmeichel's obviously very, very close to a move to Nice. Maddison been linked heavily with Newcastle, and a big, big favourite of mine, Wesley Fofana, linked with a move to Chelsea. They're right down the spine of that team, aren't they? Your keeper, your centre back, your creative midfielder. It's an awful lot to give up. The week the league begins. Now I understand they're going to get some. They've been very, very good to Kasper Schmeichel. I feel like the way they've approached the Schmeichel thing, and they've said, listen, This guy's been here 11 years. He's won absolutely everything possible at Leicester. We're going to let him. He's earned the opportunity to choose his next move. I think that's like Leicester City. We've spoken about their owners in the past. That's just class, isn't it? You know, it really is. Treating a player who's been loyal to you like that and treating him like, you know what, pal, you've been immense for us. You can choose where you want to go. If somebody wants you and you want to go somewhere else, you want to make your life nice and easy, go and live in the south of France for 2-3 more years, go and do it. You deserve it. We appreciate you. I just think it's class from Leicester as usual. You know,
I wonder would they have had the same approach if it was a Premier League team coming in from.
Highly unlikely. But I think that's where, you know, Casper's been clever about this, you know, and he's gone, I can go and live in the south of France. Look, can be a little bit more relaxed maybe than it is in Leicester, and I can still play a good standard of football. And Nice are trying to build something over there as well. You know, they've made a couple of good signings, so I think it's a good opportunity for him. And again, his family and stuff like that. Like, I think you replace Schmeichel quicker than you replace Fofana and Maddison. You know, and the money will tell you, like, if they take it, if they shifted Maddison, let's say 65 million, if they shifted Fofana, let's say 75 to 85 million, they're kind of 150 million. But, like, it's going to cost them a serious amount of money to replace the quality of Fofana and Maddison. Now, maybe they go out and they pick up 4 or 5 players for 30 to 40 ahead, and you improve the starting 11 that way, maybe. You know what I mean? And we know there is value in the market in certain places. Listen, if I'm Brendan Rodgers and James Maddison leaves my club, right? And if I'm Brendan Rodgers and Wesley Fofana leaves my club and I get 150 million in the door, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I go straight to Villarreal and I go, I want Pau Torres and I want Arnaud Danjuma. What's it going to cost? And they go, it's going to cost 45 and 35. There's 80 mil. Job done. You've still got 70 mil in the bank for 2 more players to improve your squad. Jamie Vardy's getting on a little bit now. I know they have the boy Pats and Daka, but they want to upgrade that squad a little bit in areas. Maybe pick up a good solid goalkeeper and another centre back. Maybe, like, they could do it, but it has to be clever. They really need to think about this, you know.
Yeah, I think convincing Danjuma and Pau Torres to switch to Leicester, I think would be a stretch. I think. And that's no disrespect to Leicester.
Absolutely
but
not.
I think if those boys are going to be making a move, I think they're going to be making a move a step above Leicester where they want to go. To be honest, but I like the thinking. The thinking is absolutely.
You would think those boys want Champions League football. That's what you would think.
Absolutely.
So they're not going to necessarily, you know, punt for it, Leicester. However, they might go. All right, well, they won the league a couple of years ago. They've won an FA Cup. You know, there's the possibility of silverware. There's a good manager. They've amazing owners. Not too dissimilar to the Villarreal model, but in England. You know, where they've got good owners, they've got a good manager. And we all know, and I'm certainly not saying the boys are too mercenaries, but we all know they could go to Leicester and double their money probably.
Yeah. I don't think the financials would be the stumbling block. I think the stumbling block would be the 2 boys and their ambition. I think their ambition. I don't think Leicester would share the ambition of the 2 boys, and I don't think even in the current climate, I think it would be a long time again before we see Leicester, maybe even potentially in European football, unless they win it through a domestic cup or something like that. But I don't see them making top 6 or top 7 anytime soon.
I think a massive selling point for them could be the fact that, you know, if you're going to a Danjuma or a Pau Torres, one of the reasons why a lot of the bigger clubs aren't looking at these 2 boys is because they play in a league like La Liga. You know, if these guys were churning out the performances they churn out in the Premier League, so Leicester giving them that platform, they can turn around and say to the boys, well, listen, here's the last 2 or 3 centre-backs. Harry Maguire, Man United, Wesley Fofana, Chelsea. You know, do you want to be the next centre-back at Liverpool, at Arsenal? So you give them that platform to go and play at and the possibility of a shop window. And again, with Danjuma, you know, Maddison goes to possibly Newcastle. Maybe they get involved in the top 6 battle, stuff like that. You know, again, it's another selling point. And if they do it in the Premier League again, the likelihood is they're going to end up with a huge move.
Yeah, I think the only stumbling block as well is, I mean, if you look at Villarreal as well, they've put quite a price tag on the two boys. I know West Ham were heavily linked with Dan Juma, and it was around the 36 million mark, but it didn't get it done.
36 million is,
Yeah,
but the only reason they didn't get it done was Dan Juma himself didn't fancy the Hammers. But
yeah,
the bid from West Ham to Villarreal at 36 to 38 was good. They
yeah,
were happy with that price tag, and that's where I'm looking at about 80 for the pair. That's serious deal.
yeah.
A
No,
serious deal.
that's way below what I would have valued the two boys at. And if you could get them out for that money, that'd be serious business. Absolutely.
Especially if that's what you're getting in for Wesley Fofana. And then your James Maddison money is cream top. You go and spend 15 to 20 on an unbelievable keeper. You still got 30 to 40 in the bank.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, Morris here. Would Madison get into any team in the top six? Not for me.
Well, he'd get into the fucking Arsenal team, Morris, and there's a fact. Every day of the week and twice on a Sunday.
I think when you're looking at the likes of a James Maddison, Morris, you can't just look at him solely as a player going straight into a squad. You have to look at his ability, and you have to look, he's a real proper squad player that can come in there and offer you something different at times and stuff like that as well. And I think, I know if you're talking 50, 60 million or something like that, it's big money. But he's proven he's been excellent in a Leicester side at times that's flattered to deceived. He's been their shining light at times, you know what I mean? He kind of, I suppose, Darren, when we look at James Maddison, it's that kind of James Ward-Prowse effect we have, isn't it? Where we know they're both outstanding ballers. The question is, if they make the step up, do they step into a team like that? I don't know whether they necessarily step up, but certainly he's a guy that would majorly strengthen your bench and majorly give you some really good options in terms of just offering something different at times as well. I could see him, could you see him at Chelsea? I could see him at Chelsea.
I could see him at Chelsea, absolutely. I could absolutely see him at Arsenal. I think, in where he plays, I would certainly have him at United. He either likes to play as a 10 off the front, or he likes to nip in from the left-hand side. Now, Harvey Barnes plays a lot there for Leicester, so Barnes has kind of made that his role, and Maddison's had to drop into a more creative midfield role just behind Jamie Vardy. At United, you'd have Van de Beek, Ericsson, and Fernandes. But certainly, like, I would certainly have him ahead of Van de Beek, and I would have him right up there with Ericsson. I think, at United, the only one I would pick ahead of him every single time would be Bruno. And I think at Liverpool he'd be phenomenal. I think he would be phenomenal.
He'd certainly be a massive upgrade to our bench anyway, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, you guys struggling in that 10 position. If you had him in behind the likes of a Nunez with a Salah on one side and a Diaz on the other and a Fabinho and a Thiago behind, that's quality. That's absolute quality. The guy has the X factor. He has that little something special.
Do you know the thing I like about him as well? He operates up the middle, which is really, really important at a time where, if you look at a lot of the top teams, they're always playing down the flanks and they're very predictable. That's why I'm saying he gives you that great option. If you're trying to break down a low block, he's that guy who's going to uncork a defence playing up the middle with his skill.
And he's the guy who can smash one in from 20 yards as well.
Absolutely, yeah. For me, Morris, I think he's I'm surprised higher than Newcastle isn't looking at him, really, if he's available, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Myself and Darren are very big on the boy, similar to James Ward-Prowse. Here's a man that Morrison.
I have him ahead of Odegaard.
Yeah, who we have to say actually was announced captain. Yeah. So we should ask actually. We should ask in the chat. Morris is in the chat. How does he feel about his new captain? Odegaard named as new captain. So we'll discuss that when it comes up through the chat. Speaking of a man who makes plenty of money from not kicking a ball, this man who's, I know, the bane of your life and probably not very happy in Morris's either. But he struck a deal. He struck a deal with Inter there. They paid him 3.76 million to rip up his contract, and he's now available on a free. And the talk is he might be going to join Marseille.
isn't it mental to think somebody paid him 3.75 million to rip his contract up?
Here's
Doesn't
something
that
for you,
say
right?
everything that's wrong about football right now?
Well, here's something for you, right? And here I'm going to throw this out here and see what you think. I read
Yeah.
this article last night, and when I see the 3.76 million, I actually thought Inter got away light because we know how this guy operates. And I
Yeah,
really,
well,
really sincerely mean that. I was expecting that to be 5 or 6 because we know the wedge that he's on. And he doesn't
yeah,
walk away
absolutely,
and leave money on the table. This guy's a poker player, you know what I mean?
100%.
It's such a conundrum with this guy as well, isn't it? Because on his day, he's such a really good footballer. And yet he's just always entangled in this kind of crap.
We saw when we saw Alexis Sanchez at Arsenal, he was right up there. Now I know
Unbelievable.
I know we had this conversation about Aubameyang a couple of weeks ago, and I never had Aubameyang in the conversation as a worldie, a baller, blah de blah, right? This guy completely different. At one stage, this guy was probably the best footballer in the Premier League by a country mile. Like he was unbelievable when he came to United. Like it was like we got his fucking sister or something. He was absolutely dog shit. I don't know what it was. I know they tried him in different positions. Nothing worked. And since then, it's just snowballed and got worse and worse and worse. But here's the
Yeah.
mad thing. There's no shortage of clubs who want to offer them big bucks. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Inter have shelled out
even with
big
everything
bucks at
they
him.
know.
Marseille are going to have to throw big bucks at him to get him as well. And you're looking at this guy going, what is he offering you? I would, I would, I think it's a stretch to say he'd find it easy in the MLS. That's how poor he's been, really and truly.
Yeah, although that season where Inter won Serie A, with Lukaku on fire and stuff like that, he was quite pivotal in that season, and he played some really really good football at times. I remember seeing him a couple of times, and he looked kind of nearly back to that kind of Arsenal player that we remember, and not quite, but not far off it. But for a man who has bags of talent, it's just you think he just go out there and enjoy his football on the pitch and stuff like that, and not get caught up in the financials of stuff and all, you know. Morris back, he says, too much of a nice fella for an armband for me. That's about Odegaard.
I
And
agree.
also on Alexis, he says he was unreal for Arsenal. Then it all went wrong. Yeah, I think
Unbelievable.
The move to United, it was clear that he didn't want to go, wasn't it? I think that was the initial issue, wasn't it? Like I think
We've a
within hours.
shocking record with South Americans. Shocking. Like,
Yeah,
absolutely shocking. You can pick out little guys. You can pick out Gabriel Heinze, and you can pick out Carlos Tevez or whatever. But like the amount of times we bought guys from, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, who we thought were going to be unbelievable footballers and died in their arses. And this is another one of those guys. He didn't want to come to United. United hijacked the deal. City wouldn't cough up in the end. United decided we're having a bit of this. It was really lazy from United, if I'm honest. They only went and got the guy because he was going to City. Exact same thing they did with Fred, in fairness. City were all in for Fred. City were all in for Alexis. We gazumped them twice on price and wages, and when you get a guy there like that, it's like having Angel Di Maria there. He's there and he doesn't want to be there. It's like our Portuguese number 7 at the minute. He's there. He doesn't want to be there. If you don't want to be there, see you later, pal. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
I agree. Morris reckons Wenger said that the reason Alexis' level dropped is because he wasn't playing with Mesut Ozil anymore.
I
I
have to
don't
be
know.
honest with you. I've heard so many things from, managers, players, quotes from this guy, quotes from that guy. I find it really hard. Nobody has a bad word to say about Ozil. Like, everybody loves the guy and just says he is the most amazing footballer you've ever played with in your life. Like,
Yeah,
so
it's
I
a
get
strange
where
one.
that comes from. I really do. Like, at one stage, Ozil at Arsenal as well was different gravy altogether. When he came in for the first 18 months to 2 years, he was on fire.
Sensational.
Sensational. Again, we thought we had a deal struck with Madrid. I think Madrid played Fulham at Craven Cottage, and United were going down and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden it didn't work out, and he was at Arsenal. Sure, listen, but what a footballer Ozil was. Talented boy.
Yeah, a couple of quick ones to run through here. Tyler Morton has completed a loan move to Championship side Blackburn Rovers. This was one that caught me off the hop really, because I was kind of thinking, Ox is out till October at least, by the sounds of things, with a hamstring. Curtis Jones has also tweaked something and he's out injured as well. Jota's out as well. He's going to be out for another 2 to 3 weeks by the looks of things. But we got news today that Jota has signed a new 5-year contract anyway, which is great news for Liverpool. But Tyler Morton was one of those guys who I was thinking he was quite close on the verge of making the step over, if you like.
Yeah.
He seemed to be played. He was played last season. He was in around the squad. I know he played in a number of cup fixtures. I think he also he started and played, I think, against Spurs in the league game as well. Had a tough day that day, in fairness. But this was a strange one now. This caught me off guard, this boy going out when he was so close to stepping into that squad.
I think with the 5 subs, it's a strange one. If we were at 3 subs, I'd say, oh, you know what, maybe he's not going to get lots of game time, because he's obviously seeing himself behind Harvey Elliott, Fabio Carvalho, Curtis Jones, Milner, Henderson, Keita, Fabinho, and Thiago. Like, that's 8 players for 3 spots. So, like, if he's the 9th player, he's going, you know what, this is a long chalk for me. At 5, you think he might get involved in a couple of little games and cup games and whatever. But at his age, it's probably a great move for the kid. Go into that Championship, see what you can do at that level. And then maybe if you go and smash it the way, say, an Elliott was smashing it at Fulham, that Liverpool go, now he's ready for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry, Elliott was at Blackburn as well.
He was at Blackburn, and he actually advised him on the move as well, believe it or not.
I'd imagine so, because Elliott was phenomenal at Blackburn.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's a bad move for the lad in terms of a move in terms of gameplay and stuff like that and all. But I had heard news that Klopp had been working with him positional wise on this new idea and new positioning and stuff like that and all. So I was hoping he was one that might make that step up this season and be more involved. But the loan move should do him good anyway. It did no harm to Harvey Elliott anyway. He came back serious.
Absolutely
baller.
Not. And the kid they've taken up, the boy Carvalho from Fulham, looks a baller as well.
Yeah, the other one I want to talk about before we get on to Chelsea, because I know Chelsea is going to be a bit of a conversation for us. But the boy Rodon has switched to Rennes. He's gone on a season-long loan to Rennes in the French league. But apparently they've also put together the fee for the permanent move as well.
20 million.
So it looks like that's a one-way trip. In fairness,
it does, provided he stumps up the performances. Like, I think there's intent there when you go in and you say, we'll deal at this level. And I mean, Spurs paid about 14 or 15 for him. So, like, he basically didn't kick a ball for Spurs and could end up in a £5 million profit. It's not all bad, really, is it?
No, not at all. And he has played. He did play last season a number of times, but a number of times he was kind of he struggled big time. I did like him originally. He had a couple of good performances for Spurs, but then he dropped off and had a few bad ones. And I'm sure Conte then at that stage didn't fancy him. Let's move on. We should talk about Morris back again here. Let's see. Leno about to join Fulham. Yeah, that deal looks all but complete, Morris. I was looking at that today, actually. Good news for Liverpool Saturday. Fulham are very short at centre back too. We won't be taking anything for granted on Saturday.
I don't think Leno will go straight in, if I'm honest.
I wouldn't have thought so.
No, I think the boy Marek Rodek has done quite well for them. Ireland played against him a couple of times as well in the playoffs and stuff. He's a decent keeper. But I think that'll be a slow burn before he gets the spot. I think. I could be wrong. Maybe he starts Saturday and fills as well. But I would imagine it's a slow burn. And I'd say we will see him. And because, at those teams that might be perceived as lower in the division, you're going to take a couple of beatings, and maybe that's when you take a beating 4 or 5, you go, okay, I'm going to give the keeper a break now, and then Leno comes in and gets the run.
That's when you spring
Absolutely,
him, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, rather than bringing in your new signing and he ships 4 or 5, and then you go, well, where do we go now?
Yeah,
absolutely, great show. Let's get on and talk about Chelsea. I know it's something you want to talk about, and there's a lot to be spoken about when it comes to Chelsea. My view would be similar to yours, and I know you guys had a lot of conversation in our WhatsApp group today, to a point where it got a little bit heated, and rightly so, because I think sometimes I've looked at Chelsea this transfer window, and I get the feeling that they're lost. They're kind of out of their depth, not financially, but out of their depth in terms of how that business in there should be conducted. I know Bowley has come in and he's taken over the reins and stuff like that, but does he really fully understand the system? I look at Chelsea and I wonder, is there an actual strategy there? Is there a list from Thomas Tuchel? Or is it just bids going in looking at the next cool kid? And the next cool kid that becomes available, or a big team backs off and they go, yeah, we fancy a bit of him and we'll take him in. Talk to me about Chelsea overall. I mean, we're hearing as well that Timo Werner has been offered to Spanish giants Real Madrid. I don't see that happening. I'd be very surprised if that happened. If anything, I only see Werner going back potentially to Leipzig or Germany or something like that, if I'm being honest.
I think Juve are quite interested in him as well, from what I hear. But I don't think the Madrid thing is happening at all.
Yeah,
I think more than likely it will be Leipzig and possibly Juve. But like I'm trying to think, how can I speak about Chelsea while getting my elbow and my arse in the same picture? Because somebody at Chelsea doesn't know their elbow from their fucking arse.
Well, Morris has come in here now on Cucurella, and he says, is it a Bowley signing or a Tuchel signing? Now, that's a very good question, so we should probably just start with that.
Absolutely.
So you're thinking at the moment on that.
Okay, so my thinking at the moment on I'm going to mention two. I'm going to mention Cucurella, and I'm going to mention Denzel Dumfries, because they've been linked heavily with both. A little bit further along the line with Cucurella. If I'm a Chelsea fan, and I'm naming my team for day one in the league, right? I know Mendy's going to play. And the next two positions I probably nail down, if they're fully fit, are Reece James as my right wing back and Ben Chilwell as my left wing back. They're two good young English footballers. They're fabulous footballers, right? They are absolutely unbelievable. And they're paramount to how Chelsea play football. Under Tuchel, which we saw massively when James and Chilwell both missed various periods of the season through injury. Now, to go out and spend somewhere in the region between 40 and 50 million on Cucurella, and somewhere in the region between 30 and 40 million on Denzel Dumfries to be backups, that's mental. That's absolutely mental. Like, if Cucurella plays, you're ruining Ben Chilwell. If Ben Chilwell plays, you're ruining Cucurella. The two boys don't play in the same team.
Yeah.
They're not going to play as right-sided or left-sided centre-backs, because both of these guys are out-and-out wing-backs who push extremely high up the pitch. Now, if you're going to bring them in, let's just go crazy, right? And let's say they played Reece James on the right and Ben Chilwell on the left. And let's say they push Denzel Dumfries to the right centre-back and Cucurella to the left centre-back with Thiago Silva or Koulibaly in the middle. Yeah?
Yeah.
They'll be absolutely torn a new one. Because you'll have two guys on the left way too high, or two guys on the right way too high. Bombing forward. And if you don't...
Because it's all they know. By Reece James. I mean, Reece James defensively is very, very good.
Very good, right? But they're square pegs going into round holes. And we know square pegs and round holes don't work. They haven't worked at any team recently. And when teams try to shoehorn guys into teams, it doesn't work. You might get short-term results. You might get the odd instant gratification. You're not getting long-term solidity and results or trophies, because you're putting something in. Now, I personally lay a lot of this blame at Todd Bowley, if I'm honest. We spoke about this at length. I think the move getting rid of Bruce Buck and the move getting rid of Marina, when he did it and how he did it, and getting rid of both of them together, was a massive dropping of the ball by Todd Bowley. That was him. That was him being extremely arrogant and, kind of saying, well, I don't need you guys to come along with me on this journey. I can do it myself. Got to be honest, Todd, I've looked at your window. It's been nothing short of shocking. Absolutely nothing short of shocking. For me, the best piece of business they've done
Raheem.
is Raheem.
Yeah.
They've also, we should mention, they seem to have just come to terms on the boy Carney Chukwuemeka. He's the English under-19 captain. He's been at Aston Villa, very, very highly thought of. Aston Villa offered him big money. He didn't sign the deal. Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Juventus apparently all looked at this kid. He's a top underage footballer. Chelsea seem now to have got the deal over the line. I spoke to you earlier before we kicked off. Chelsea don't have a great record with these kind of young players. You only need to look at Daniel Sturridge and Dominic Solanke, to see how it's gone wrong for them. Gael Kakuta. We can name a lot of these, prized young footballers that Chelsea bought and did nothing with, and had to ship them out then to try and get back some of the money. I don't know if there's any strategy to what's going on at Chelsea at the minute, and what would lead me to that is the way they're pogo sticking from one to the next. We want De Ligt, doesn't happen. Boring. We want Kunde, doesn't happen. Boring. We go to next. They're now at the boy Garvidal at Leipzig. Yeah. And they're also at and don't forget Nathan Aki as well, who didn't come. So there are options, maybe 4, 5, and 6 in that centre back spot.
Wesley Fofana now as well, isn't it?
Wesley Fofana. Listen, I got to be honest. If they get Wesley Fofana, that trumps what they did with Raheem Sterling. Because the only other young centre back I would look at in a similar light to Wesley Fofana is my guy Konate at Liverpool. I think like that's the level. I think both of them. I have both of them over Upamecano all day long. I think they're two composed, athletic, mature footballers for their age in a centre back position where typically you don't get a lot of that. I think the two lads are unbelievable. I think Fofana will be amazing. Denzel Dumfries and Mark Cucurella, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I think it's nuts.
Yeah, especially where there's so much pressure in other positions at the moment to spend and get players in. So
they've got absolutely nothing up front, like nothing. Right? They've got Koi who can play as a false 9 or a 10. Yeah. You've got Ziyech who is apparently on the way out the door to Milan. You've got Timo who's on the way to Leipzig or Juve. You've got Pulisic, Mount. Are they keeping the boy Broja this week or not? If it's me, he probably starts the weekend against Everton. That's how much they need something for my money. Conor Gallagher, what's happening with him? This window has been appalling for Chelsea Football Club. And any blame that's to be laid at doors, I'd be knocking and I'd be waiting for Todd to open it. I'd be waiting for Todd to open it. Absolutely.
Yeah, what do you make as well? There's talk at the moment, and we will get into talking about it as we talk about Barcelona. They're supposed to be in for De Jong as well. I mean, do you see that as being a visible threat there to United, who have done all this work over the last 6-8 weeks on Frankie De Jong?
Listen,
do you see
Chelsea have a lot to offer?
Yeah.
So they're absolutely a viable option for De Jong. And, any United fan that says they're not worried about De Jong going to Chelsea is a liar. Because we've, as United, have hung our hat on him. And we've said, this is the guy we want. Eric Ten Hag has said, he's going to conduct my orchestra. Now, for us to throw all that at this kid's door and him to end up in a blue jersey, we'll have egg all over us. I think, if you're asking a Dutch guy, do you want to come and live in Manchester or London? It's an easy answer. Chelsea will match up financially for United. Chelsea have Champions League.
It's league football, yeah.
So Chelsea have a lot to offer. I think our ace would be Eric Ten Hag. I think that's our and we're Man United. And we won't be shit forever. And anybody that wants to come and anyone that wants to come and try and help us become something again, the rewards will be there for you, not just financially, but from the fans as well. You've seen how United, when they put guys up on pedestals, the Ronaldos, the Rooneys, the Giggs, the guys like that. So, that could work in his favour as well. But absolutely, Chelsea are a viable option for Frankie de Jong.
Yeah, and certainly the interesting thing about the De Jong one when I looked at it is he looks like a signing that would actually make sense. He'll go into that Chelsea side, and there's a role there for him. It's needed. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
It's not just another like the Cucurella one where they're just springboarding in off the back of a Man City pullout or something like that. We'll keep an eye on it anyway, but certainly it's going to be an interesting next 4 weeks for Chelsea as we see how things unfold and in the league how things perform. They seem to be a little bit disjointed pre-season and stuff like that in terms of their play as well. So let's see what happens. This boy making a return to Everton, Idrissa Gueye. He's having a medical there at the moment on a return to Everton. Didn't have a great time there. First time out, left, and now he's coming back.
Had a really good time there, first time out.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable at Everton. It was his form at Everton that got him the move to PSG, because at that stage, I know United were in the conversation for him. He was at one stage one of the most sought after midfielders in the league. He was super. I think my issue with this is, like, again, that's PSG not necessarily been run the right way. That's we'll go and get a guy to get a guy. We're not going to get the guy we want. We're not going to get the guy we need. We're just going to get a guy. And they got Idrissa Gueye. I think for Everton, this is a great piece of business. You've sold a guy to PSG for 35, 40 million, something like that, a couple of years ago. Yeah. You're going to more than likely take him back on loan for a fee and a portion of his wages. And that Everton squad is still threadbare. Obviously they've got the boy James Tarkowski at centre back. They've got the boy Dwight McNeil who's come in. He'll basically play in Richarlison position, that high on the left hand side of the front three, with probably Anthony Gordon on the opposite side and Dominic Calvert-Lewin through the middle. Idrissa will probably play in the middle. And then they've just brought in the right back, Vitinho, as well, from Sporting on loan, who was at Wolves. So Frank's starting to put his stamp on the squad, but I still think they're very, very short, Everton. I think they're short goals, and I think that's going to really be a problem for them this season. I don't necessarily see them a lot stronger at the back, but I think they're at a reasonable level at the back. If you look at Tarkowski and Keane, and you look at maybe the boy, the Ukrainian left back, Mykolenko, and then if you look at Vitinho, and if you look at Jordan Pickford, it's solid. You put Idrissa in front of them, tightens it up a little bit more. You've got maybe two midfielders, your Andre Gomez and your Decore, maybe somebody like that. And then you've got, I think it's across the front where you're looking at Gordon, Iwobi, McNeil, you're looking at Rondon, you're looking at Calvert-Lewin, and then Damari Gray. There's not enough goals there in those six players, and they'll be the six that will fill those front three spots. They'll be, one will be in, one will be out, one will be in, one will be out. There's not enough goals in them six players. Everton will struggle massively, I think, this season.
Yeah. Let's move on and talk about Barcelona, who have basically been the discussion of this transfer show, and I think every transfer show on the planet. Well, we probably need to discuss the fact that they've released another 100 million there, by selling off the sale 24.5% of the Barca studios to Associates.com. 100 million. What you're making on this? I mean, this has just been amazing, isn't it? It's just to sit back and watch this. This is, for me, the thesis for anyone going through a financial college thesis at the moment who wants to look at something
Absolutely.
really, really in depth, um, and how not to run a business. It's the craziest thing ever I've seen. And they seem, as each day goes on, they seem to get away with it a little bit more and more. What you're making, I mean, they're obviously after, they're after getting another 100 million in there now. Does that 100 million now allow them to register the three boys that are outstanding?
No, no.
Okay.
Apparently, is the answer, because the issue is not necessarily with the money they have. The issue is the proportion of their money they're allowed to spend on wages, which is
Oh,
within
the
the La
capping,
Liga
the capping
rules.
system, yeah,
Yeah,
the
it's not
capping
like a
system,
capping, but they can only use a percentage of it. So
yeah.
whatever it be, if it's 15, 20%, and because of the way the financial irregularities went to Barcelona, La Liga made them take an awful lot of money off the wage bill, and they wanted $4 to be taken off the wage bill before they
Mm,
were allowed to put $1 on. We knew that's why they ended up with Martin Braithwaite, Luke De Jong, guy like this.
yeah.
Now they're Barcelona are still dealing, they're still trying to get guys out the door and stuff like that. They're playing the worst game of chicken ever with Frankie De Jong. Like the worst. Not only are they playing the worst game of chicken, but they are covering themselves in fucking ketchup while they're doing it, because this is just spoiling what should be an amazing football club. A football
Mm.
club that we've all looked at over the years and thought, geez, Barcelona, that's the way to do it, isn't it? You know, and we've all spoken like that. And all of the kind of shithousery that went on in Spain, a lot of it was laid at the door of Real Madrid. You know, this what Barcelona are doing at the minute is just crazy. The only way I can liken it to anything is when my 14-year-old started playing FIFA on manager mode. Yeah. And he just starts, you know, he's got like 60 million and he's putting bids in for like 250 million worth of players. And you're like, this won't work, pal. And I'll be grand. No, it won't work though. Yeah, no, but it should be okay. No, but it won't work though. And you're like, and this is a club being run by, by people who know better, and people who should understand that they're going too far with this. This could get very messy at Barca.
Yeah, Morris came back, said, are they selling NFTs yet? Morris, they're probably not far off it, I can tell you that now. And see that comment as well, the OnlyFans comment next.
Yeah,
Man, nothing would shock me with this club right now. Absolutely nothing at all would shock me. And you
yeah,
know the funny thing, Darren, and I was thinking about the other day, I was looking at this Barcelona side. They've brought in some serious footballers, assuming they get them
absolutely.
registered. And we have to assume they're going to get them registered. Um, the scary thing is, we could be sitting back next May and Barcelona could be lifting the Champions League. And that's the scary thing as well when you look at it and you look at what they've brought in and stuff like that. Now, we know they still have a bit of work to do in certain areas and stuff like that, but they've brought in some serious footballers, assuming they get registered. Um,
Absolutely. Well, I mean,
and that,
like they're starting 11. You're looking obviously Ter Stegen. You're looking at the boy Aranju and Kunde. You're looking probably maybe a Serginho Dest and Jordi Alba, that kind of thing. You're looking at Frank Kessie. You're looking at Sergio Busquets, Gavi, Pedri, Rafinha, Aubameyang, Ferran Torres, Lewandowski. Like, that's a serious lineup. Um,
mm,
Xavi had them playing some amazing football towards the end of the season. He really, really did. He got the ball rolling there. They were playing what you would describe as Barcelona football. Um, it was unbelievable. It was really, really unbelievable. But I think this is going to be very, very difficult, not just because of all of those huge personalities in the one dressing room. I think that's tough, by the way. When you've got an Aubameyang who's not playing, maybe, or where you've got a Frank Kessie who's maybe not starting, or you've got because there's a lot of guys like, the likelihood is if I'm Barcelona and I go in with three in midfield, I probably go in with Busquets, and I go in with Gavi and Pedri when I'm right.
On.
Right, and then you're Frank Kessie, and he's sitting on the bench, and he's looking at Aubameyang, and Aubameyang's going, oh, well, he's got Rafinha, he's got Ansu Fati, and he's got Lewandowski ahead of me. I'm in here with you. Like, how good does that get? We know what Aubameyang's like when he's not playing football and how irritated he gets in the dressing room. A couple of these guys causing issues. Xavi's going to find things very, very difficult. And least of all, if they don't get Frankie de Jong out of the building, because he will also be a guy who's going to sit in the bench and go, what the fuck is this about?
Yeah, absolutely. Evening, David. Good to have you on board. We're
hey,
all
Dave.
good here at the moment. Yeah, you're spot on, David. That OnlyFans, nothing would shock me at this stage at all. Ted's in the comments as well. Wants to know, Darren, if Barca don't sell Frankie de Jong and can't register the players they now have him waiting, can those players get out of those contracts? I think, what way does it work, Darren? Until they're registered, are they actually under contract? What way does it work?
So you see, what I believe, again, I'm open to persuasion on this, but what I believe is they've signed a deal to sign for Barcelona. The issue is they can't be registered for the competition through La Liga if the financial. So they'll still be, because this happened already with Aguero. So Aguero was a Barca player, and Aguero was being paid money not to play because they couldn't register him.
So you see a situation where the boys are Barca players anyway, but they may not be able to take part, say, until they register them. It could be a case where they register them in January.
Possibly, yeah, absolutely, okay. Yeah. And I think I heard Joan Laporta, or I read something about Joan Laporta talking earlier on, because I think there's a cut-off date for this for La Liga.
13th.
The 13th of August, exactly.
13th of August, I read you.
So, I mean, with that in mind, how far does this go with Frankie de Jong? Like, I mean, okay, we know the likelihood is he's going to pass a medical, right? And we know the likelihood is personal terms are going to be agreed. And he's already spoken to Ten Hag, and all of that stuff is lined up. The ducks are all in a row. But, like, how far do you wait? How long does de Jong wait? De Jong's going to wait as long as he can, or as long as he has to. And I mean, if he sits there, Barca have to rack up them wages. The onus is on Barca to get him out the door. So how long do Barca wait in this game of chicken? Do they wait till the 10th? Do they wait till the 11th? Do they wait till the 13th and wake up on the 13th and go, pay the kid what he's out and get him the fuck out of here quick so we can put these boys down? Risking something going wrong, like a dodgy fax machine, we've seen it happen before, like international clearance, like a fucking flight not getting out on time, something going wrong, and all of a sudden this deal doesn't happen, and Barca are looking at a changing room where they're going out to kick off at 8 o'clock and they're leaving Lewandowski and Rafinha in the dressing room because they're not registered to play games.
Yeah, I don't, Ted, I don't see that happening where he becomes a free agent again. He is under contract to Barcelona, so I'd say the issue will be is whether he's going to play football for the first 5 months of the season or whether he's just going to be playing keepy-uppies on the training pitch or something.
And I think also each competition has different rules around it. So I think registration for La Liga, that you could possibly see a scenario where he can't play in the league, but he's eligible for the Champions League.
Yeah, and maybe, absolutely.
So, it's, again, that's mental.
What do you reckon is the game here? I mean, they're just after releasing another 100 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they not? Answer me this now. Why would they not just turn around to Frankie de Jong and go, right, we owe you 17 million or whatever it is. Here's 10 or here's 12. That's what we're going to pay you. There's the 12 million. Take the 12 million out of the 100. Pay him his fucking 12 million. Stop the shenanigans and the crap and let him go then agree the deal with United. You're after boosting it by giving them an extra 10 million up front, aren't you? In terms
Yeah,
of the add-ons, you've guaranteed that as
75
well.
plus 10 instead of
So,
65 plus
so
20.
why are they not getting this done? Are you going to see a situation where they don't get this done? They're just playing hardball. They're being bulgy. They
Well,
don't
this
give a
is, yeah, no,
crap.
there's a massive air of arrogance about this, and it's we'll deal when we're ready to deal. Because you're Frankie de Jong, but we're Barcelona, and that's a dangerous game to play. Because if the deal doesn't get done and you end up with the two boys sitting there not able to kick a football, that's mental. That is absolutely out the door crazy that would happen because of an arrogance from Barcelona. I think I read somewhere recently that with all the money that's been released, you'd think they'd pay the players what they were owed instead of trying to reinvest the money into new players and into their salaries. And
Yeah.
that's it in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Mark's in the commentary. Evening, Mark. Evening, man. Can't believe the season kicks off this weekend. I'm buzzing for it. Can't wait for Arsenal to get spanked 3-0 by Palace and crush my hopes and dreams. Mark, stop that now. Stop that right now. You should be coming on here and buzzing from the pre-season that you've had. You've got Jesus, who's absolutely on fire at the moment. You should be going out and going to lay down a number against Palace on Friday night. There's no doubt about
Did
it.
you did
And
you
I
see
expect
this?
you to
Did you
do
see
that
the
too.
stat about him in fantasy football?
Yeah, unbelievable, isn't it?
Like 71%
Unbelievable.
of people playing fancy football have him in their team. Like that's fucking nuts.
Yeah,
That is
apparently
nuts.
I think Dino was in the comments as well, and Dino mentioned it's the highest in
It's the
fantasy
highest
football
ever. It's the highest
ever.
ever in fancy football. Nobody's ever had 71% take up in fancy
Yeah,
football. Not Salah,
yeah,
not um not Kane, not De Bruyne, not Son, not Ronaldo. Little old Gabriel Jesus. Quality. I
yeah.
love it.
Absolutely. Mark, also, you weren't on earlier, but let us know. We were talking about Odegaard being made captain. What you're feeling on that? Let us know what your thoughts are on that. Ted is back in the comments as well. He says, yeah, I'm not 100% sure how it works myself, but I would think if he can't play, he could turn around and say, if I can't play, then I want to void my contract. Don't think it works that way. I don't think that's the case. Um, as we seen with Aguero, it's not
Yeah,
the case.
no.
David's back in again as well. Barca must be the worst run top club I've seen in my lifetime. I've said a number of times on these shows, David, and Darren has as well. This is one that's going to actually need a white paper thesis look at what has gone on at this club down the road at some stage when
It,
this comes back and falls apart. The scary thing, David, and I said it earlier to Darren, these guys could lift the Champions League next May. And how is the football world going to feel about that? It's
I'm trying to
absolutely
think
crazy.
of have you seen the video or have you seen the documentary on Netflix? It's about the Fire Festival. You ever seen that one?
Yes, the one where they did the gig on the tropical island that
Where they
never
do the
was going
gig
to
on the
happen.
tropical
Yeah,
island and just everything is like shit up. And they're selling
yeah.
like these 6 grand cabanas to people that aren't there. And it's just the biggest
60,
shit show.
60 grand.
And they're
60
throwing these
grand.
things up, right?
Madness.
And I
Yeah.
imagine we're gonna see a documentary one day about Barcelona and
Yeah.
about how this period in the club, be it 2, 3, 5, let's say a 5 year period, right? Because you've got
Mm.
to engulf the year we've had, the couple of years of COVID, and then the year or two before it, 18 months maybe, to get a real overview. They're going to cover a 5 year period in this documentary, and they're going to show you how this club is run. And I think it's going to be absolutely jaw dropping, like jaw dropping, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Morris was talking about Jesus here. He goes, it's the price and the pre-season.
Yeah,
Not a bad
the
combination
price
at all.
pays the price. Well, here, listen, Morris has mentioned it. I think on every single show so far. If
Mm.
he's fit, he plays 38 games. That's a guarantee. You
Yeah.
know, if 38 games for me, scoring 1 and 2, he gets 19 league goals. You know,
And
like that's
the
nearly
funny thing,
80 points in the fancy.
and you know the funny thing about it, we're talking like that a goal and two. It's not even a stretch the way we're
I don't think
thinking.
so.
It's
I don't
not a
think so.
stretch at all for the lad.
I think he's getting
Um,
I think he's getting 3 to 4 chances per game.
Yeah.
I imagine with what's around him at Arsenal,
Yeah, Mugabe, welcome to the show. David is back in again. Reckons the plot twist: Lewandowski signs for Bayern this summer. Imagine.
I don't think Bayern will take him back, would they?
Ted is back on again as well. The lad down the docks for some fucking water. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. And Mark, don't know. That must be one that snuck in from a different thread Ted was talking about or something like that. Mark's back on as well. Love that he's captain. He's a proper professional. You seem to have the respect of all the players and the manager. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it, with him? Because there's no he does say Morris made the point earlier. He seems a very nice guy to be captain.
I know exactly what he's talking about now. Yeah. Ted. The lad sucking dick down the docks for some fucking water. Remember they asked him on that fire festival thing, and your man was like, he needed the water to be released.
Absolutely,
and he goes, you're gonna have to go in and take one for the team.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
And he went in and did it. He went in to get the container of water. Yeah, they had impounded it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Jesus,
Ted,
great show.
Quality pal, great.
Ted, you're on fire, pal. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm glad I understood what that was now. Yeah, the fire festival. Yeah, your man impounded all the fresh water lorries that they had brought in and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, unreal. Ted, when you've got that amount of money on the line and you've got it about to collapse, some guys will do what they gotta do. Morris back in again. He's gone from 20 to 1 to 9 to 1 to be top scorer, 20 plus for me.
At 20 to 1, I put money on him. At 9, not for me. And I've just said I think he gets 1 and 2. So that's 19. But I think the possibilities of a Nunez and a Haaland are just a little bit more for me. Just
a tad, as they say. Here's a little here's a little graphic I wanted to bring up for you. This is an interesting one. Obviously this is going to change over the next few days. What was your thoughts on this when you seen this listing? Barcelona obviously top. They're absolutely knocking it out of the park, spending loads of other people's money. Bayern Munich have obviously spent and recycled where possible. Arsenal are third. I would expect that to grow, would you?
I'd be shocked if it doesn't break the 150.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked.
Who are you thinking? The likes of Tillemans, is it?
No, I don't necessarily have anyone in mind, but I just don't think Arteta's happy with what he has right now. I think he wants more. I think he probably wants a defensive midfielder and possibly a centre-back or something like that, you know?
Yeah, they were linked with the boy Paqueta as well, weren't they?
Yeah, at Lyon. A friend of the boy, Bruno Guimaraes, who came to Newcastle. The boys played in the team together there in the midfield positions. Good footballer. Again, is it what Arsenal need right now? I'm not so sure. He's probably a little bit Fabio Vieira-ish for me. You know, and I don't necessarily see the need of buying two guys quite similar to each other like that. Whereas, you know, I think a great signing for Arsenal, just me personally, I think a great signing for Arsenal will be the boy Sangari from PSV Eindhoven, who we've spoken about a number of times.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that kind of that kid built like a Patrick Vieira. He's big, he's physical, you know, rangy. He doesn't mind being a little bit nasty. He's rangy. He comes, he takes the ball off that back four, he starts to open it up, he sits in front of the back four, he screens. I think that's what Arsenal needs. I think that would be the kind of business. I don't know if any of the Arsenal lads that are there, Mark or Morris, want to tell us, like something like that, the boy Sangari at PSV Eindhoven, sit in front of your back four, screen, come short, get the ball and use it like that.
Controlling it,
control the tempo of the game and stop Arsenal, because I got to be honest with you, I think I've mentioned this before, Arsenal hold no fear for me as an opposing fan because of how they play football. You know, Arsenal are very much a basketball-y kind of team. It's you score, we score, you score, we score. And I think you'll get away with that against Watford They'll get away with it maybe against Forest, other teams like that. I think against the better teams, they're going to rip you a new one. I think Arsenal need to get away from that. Arsenal need to get closer to the 1-0 to the Arsenal before they're going to see the success they need. That solidity at the back and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. If they can get that solidity at the back and then the energy that Jesus brings with all that youth in there and stuff like that as
Absolutely.
well, they're going to be a very dangerous team this season.
Yeah.
What overall have you made of the list? I mean, obviously you expect Man City to do a bit more business.
Well, we expected them to do the Mark Cucurella deal, didn't we?
Yeah.
I tell you the one thing, yeah, that's a good shout from Ted. Calvin Phillips should have gone to Arsenal, and he's actually played there, and he's what they needed. Yeah, that's a great shout, Ted. Because again, does the same sort of role, screens the back four, comes short to take the ball, dictates the tempo of play, can drop into the pocket and play like that quarterback and just spray the ball everywhere. And I think a couple of occasions I've seen him be man of the match at the Emirates, so it's not like he doesn't like it there either. But I think the problem was he had a bit of ambitions. He wanted to win something, so that's why he went to City. But I think the biggest shock for me was on the list as I looked at it. Well, there was two big shocks. The first big shock was, have Manchester City brought in Haaland and Calvin Phillips for under 100 million, right? So that's fucking scary, by the way. Yeah. And the second thing is, when did Peter Ridsdale land back at Leeds?
Yeah.
Because Leeds last year were extremely frugal in the market. And we were looking at them going, whoa, what's going to... Now, listen, you're looking at Calvin Phillips and you're looking at Rafinha as a chunk of that money. So, like, Leeds' outlay at the minute is probably like 10 to 20 on what they've done. And if you look at the squad, you take Calvin Phillips out, you take Rafinha out, the squad itself looks much better. You know, it's a more balanced squad. Leeds are absolutely 100% still short of goals, but the squad itself, the energy brought through midfield with Tyler Adams and Brendan Danielson and stuff like that, or Brendan Aronson, is much, much better. The boy Sinister is brought in from Feyenoord, cracking footballer. I just want Leeds to buy a 9. I think Leeds need a 9. That's all.
Yeah, it's an interesting one for them, but it was an interesting list when it was compiled, I think, yesterday and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just when you think, like, I mean, we're not on it, you're not on it. Well, not yet.
No.
Still 4 weeks to go.
I listen. I fully expect, you know, Chelsea to almost finish top of it by the end of it. You know, because I think their squad is the one that needs the most work, if I'm honest. With the way, and if you're looking at Denzel Dumfries, if you're looking at Cucurella, like, if Cucurella feed goes on there, or Chelsea go to second. And then you're still looking at attackers and midfielders, and, you know, I think City still do something. I think Arsenal still do something. I wouldn't be shocked to see Spurs do something else. So yeah, but I think the big thing for me is, where's the ACs, Inters, Juves, Serie A dying on its knees?
Yeah, there seems to be trouble there.
Napoli.
All right. Ted's back. Leeds just about survived last year. I'd say those owners were shitting themselves about whether they'd get back up if they dropped into the championship again.
Yeah,
100% Ted. I think they would find it difficult enough, all right. And I think they've gone out and they have bought in a number of players.
I heard an interview earlier on with Steve Cooper as well, who was at Nottingham Forest, and they spent 85 million, and he said he expects 2 or 3 more to arrive as well.
Yeah, which we're very encouraged about, and we spoke about it last week as well. That it's great to see them doing it as well. One thing that I wanted to chat to you about, we'll probably finish up on it, was Tony Cascarino was on TalkSport there. I think it was yesterday, and he turned around. He was asked about Jack Grealish.
Yeah.
And he warned that Jack Grealish could easily find himself back at Aston Villa in a damning assessment. What's your thinking on that? I mean, in terms of, there's a lot of concern this season that this has to be Jack Grealish's season, doesn't it? That he needs to step up. 100 million quid, has flattered to deceive big time. I thought he was very poor in the Community Shield. Not that we read much into that, but you'd like to get an idea. When it's Man City versus Liverpool, they put out two really strong sides. They had a real go off each other. But I think Grealish at times in the match just absolutely flattered to deceive. He was never really in the game.
It's something we spoke about. It's something we spoke about off air, because obviously at that stage I was on the phone to you and I was like, these need an attacking and high attackers with the likes of a Sterling or a Jesus that they've just lost. I think for me, I think the Grealish one was a strange signing a little bit. I certainly don't doubt the kid as a footballer. I think he's got tons of ability. But I think, where do you fit him into a team, i.e. a Manchester City team? Because you've already got Phil Foden. Like, is he a better player than Phil Foden? Absolutely not. Does he bring something very, very different than Phil Foden? Nope. He wants to operate in that number 10 position or in that wide left channel. That's traditionally where Foden operates. Right now, Again, why spend 100 million on a guy who's not going to start every game? Right? Let's be honest. When the shit hits the fan at City, you'll have Haaland, Mahrez, Foden, and Alvarez. And Grealish is behind all of them. But I do think City need another, another in the mould of a Leroy Sané, who obviously is an ex-City player. Somebody quick, tricky, a wingery kind of player for that left-hand side to replace Sterling. But I think I would agree with Cascarino. I think this is a huge season for Jack Grealish, especially when he went out and celebrated like he'd won Player of the Year. Like that lays a marker down in itself.
Yeah, Ted came back on. Pep did give Sterling time to adjust to a style of play. I think he might give the same to Grealish. Won't want to be tarnished with a bad signing. Yeah, I think he's no choice but to give him the time. But we know with Pep as well, Ted, he's no problem if he blows a load of money and it doesn't work out. He's no problem replacing it or changing it if it has to be done. We've seen the stuff he's done at left back in the past and everything and stuff like that. David is back on as well. He says Grealish was always better suited to United than to City. What you thinking on that, Darren?
Yeah, listen, again, I think you're looking at him and you're going, do we put him in ahead of Fernandes? I'm not sure. He's really, really a 10. He's not a centre midfielder, and he's not, wingery enough to be a winger. He likes to float and he likes to glide and stuff like that. He's not extremely direct. He checks inside. He floats a ball. There's a lot of beans in 100 million, and I think City really, really, really paid an awful lot of money for this kid, and I don't necessarily see it working out very, very well. I'll tell you, I'll actually make a prediction. I'll make a prediction, and I like a good prediction, don't you?
I do.
My prediction is, he doesn't have a shocking season, doesn't have a great season either. He has a middling sort of a season, Yep. And this time next summer, he's either at or being linked with Chelsea.
Interesting.
Because they're the only kind of club that have that kind of a book to go, come on into us. Very, very similar, though, to a Mason Mount, who likes to operate as a 10 or as a player who plays high on the left. And again, I feel like with Mount at times, he's not wingery enough. I want someone more direct. I want someone that can run at someone and be like I think Mount's a fabulous footballer, by the way. So I don't want anyone to get me confused here and saying that I don't think Mount's a good footballer. I think Mount's amazing. I really love the kid. But he's not a traditional winger. He's not going to go in and out, weave and stuff like that. He's not a Ryan Giggs. He's not a Ronaldo. Now, yes, other players can do jobs in those positions. We know David Beckham never went by a player in his life. He just set the ball out and put it onto a sixpence. But I think it's more difficult in certain teams to get away with doing certain things. I think at City, I think Grealish is going to be shown up as an extremely luxurious player, and they're not necessarily the players that Pep wants in that team.
Yeah, I think David came on in terms of United letting players play with freedom rather than Pep's intense structure. What I would say about that, David, a year ago I would have agreed with you on that. I think now what you're going to see with Eric Ten Hag as well, you're going to see quite an intense structure as well. You're not going to see, it's not going to be that freedom that you see there. You've seen it when these boys, even in pre-season, have had a bit of freedom and taking liberties. He's absolutely roaring at them from the sidelines. This is not going to work. You can be guaranteed every United player walking onto a pitch this season will absolutely fundamentally understand their job for the next 90 minutes, and there will be no ambiguity about that at all. So Ten Hag is going to be very similar to Klopp, very similar to Pep. It's not going to be 11 United players or 10 United players running around the pitch deciding what they feel like they want to do. There's going to be a lot of structure to United's play, and you've seen it already in pre-season when the structure is in there and how they've played. I don't see anyone having that kind of freedom, even Bruno.
The structural thing for me is important because there are players at City and there are players at Liverpool who play in structures and who we know are going to do certain things. But because they do them so well, it still works. And that's what United need to be able to do. We need a Marcus Rashford to play on that left-hand side, be very direct. When he gets down the outside, he checks it back in. When he gets down the inside, he has a pop. Guys will know what he's doing. But if you need to become good enough to do it on a, week-to-week basis and build up that level of consistency. Whereas I think Ted has hit the nail on the head here. I think, and this is what I'm talking about with Grealish being a luxurious player. He's a luxury. He's suited to been given a free rein on the pitch, which gets him when he's a big fish in a small pond. Jack Grealish all over, 100%.
That's not going to work at City. If he's outside the structure, that's when you drift out of teams. We've seen it with Liverpool and even with City, who are so good structurally at times. But at times when they come under the caution, come under pressure, if they're a goal down or there's a draw and they're chasing the game and they need to get a win or something, when that structure changes, you very quickly see world-class players look very, very ordinary by not understanding what their job is at the time. And I just think, with Jack Grealish, I think he is an absolute luxury player. I think it was Man City just throwing their balls onto the table and trying to say to the Prem, oh, look what we can do kind of thing. And it's going to be a massive season for the boy, but he's going to have to learn that he's not Jack Grealish of Aston Villa who can just run around the whole pitch and decide whatever the hell he wants to do. That he has a position within that structure and that's what his role is going to be. And if he can't do that, he's going to find himself watching football matches this season. There's no doubt about that.
I just want to revisit something I think it was Morris said earlier, and he asked about a particular signing at Chelsea. I think it was Cucurella, and he says, is this a Bowley or a Tuchel signing? So for me, Jack Grealish was a Mubarak signing. He wasn't a Pep Guardiola signing. I think Pep went, I'll take him, I'll do my best. But I think Pep wants, he wants a little bit different than Jack Grealish. I think that's a chairman, like you say, not necessarily going into a dick measuring competition with anyone, but just saying, we've just won a league. This is what we can do. But I think Ted's right. I think Jack Grealish needs to be that Roy of the Rovers type player. He needs to be taking corners, free kicks, throw-ins, penalties. He needs to be everywhere. That doesn't work in a Pep Guardiola team.
Yeah, it works in an Aston Villa team, but it doesn't work in a Pep Guardiola team.
Doesn't work at Liverpool. Yeah. Doesn't work at City. It's unlikely this season it's going to work at United. And that's why, and I would agree with what you say. I think structurally, Bruno's got a lot to change at United now. I think he can't be the guy who now is, because Bruno at United, when he came in initially, was amazing. One of the reasons he was amazing because, he was taking shots from 35 yards out and they were going in the top corner. I think if he starts pinging balls from 35 yards, Eric Ten Hag tips him on the shoulder and says, take a seat, pal. Christian Eriksen, on you go. Donny van de Beek, on you go. We're going to play football a certain way. I want you to press. I want you to recycle. I want you to do this. I want you to do this. I don't want a guy who's just throwing javelins in the hope they're going to stick. That's not going to work for us anymore because we're trying to build a pattern of play. And again, that's why I think Grealish doesn't necessarily work in that City team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, it's been another good one. I don't have anything else to add at this stage. I want to thank
We don't
everyone
do
in the
very many
chat.
bad ones, do we?
No, we don't. They're all good. Just a little bit of housekeeping for everyone as well. Just to
Mm-hmm.
reiterate, Thursday's tier talk this week will be a preview of the Premier League matches coming up at the weekend, and it'll encompass as well our Beat the Bookie show. For those people who are not familiar with it now that we're live on StreamYard and stuff like that, our Beat the Bookie show is the show where we look at the fixtures and we pick out a number of bets. And we have a look at those bets. It's just a fun show. And what we do is we nominate a bet as a charity bet each week. And if that bet comes in, we donate that win to charity.
What price
Go
was
ahead.
my bet that I got up on the last day of the season? Do we remember?
80, if I'm
I
right,
think
I'm
it was 80
thinking
to 1.
84 or 85 to 1, I think it was. And look out for Mark.
So,
Mark was on me today, our resident ref. Mark, our
yeah,
resident ref, was on to me today. He's already putting his bets together and stuff like that. And we'll preface that he does like a bet in the championship and stuff like that. Ted, are we sending in our top 6 again this year and
and 3
3
to be
to be
relegated. Yeah,
relegated
we'll
like
do
last season?
predictions.
We will, yeah. We'll do our predictions on Thursday as well, Ted. So if you wanna send them in beforehand, not a problem at all. Or if you're available Thursday to jump on, if you want to come on and chat and stuff like that,
Come on
whatever way you
down.
want to do it, come on down. We'll drop the link into the chat if anyone wants to come on. So what we will be looking for on Thursday, folks, we will be looking for your top 6, your 3 relegated,
Your top
possibly how
goal
you feel.
scorer.
Yeah, well, yeah, we could go top goal scorer, I suppose, as well. Yeah, and
Your
then
player
what
of the
we'll do
year.
is, yeah,
Your young
absolutely,
player of the year. Your manager of the season. Which ground makes the best tea and sambos? And who's the nicest coach driver?
yeah. And what we'll also do is we'll be going down through all the fixtures for this weekend, starting with Arsenal's big fixture kicking off the season on Friday night, and then we will be running down through our picks, our bets that we have picked out for this weekend as well. So it's going to be a
Can I
fun
tell you
show.
something?
Yep.
Can I tell you something?
Go on.
Oh, I haven't told my wife this yet.
Go on.
So we're going to United in Brighton on Sunday at 2:00.
Yeah.
Myself, my 2 sons, my 7-year-old, my 14-year-old. I know what you're all thinking. He's too young to have a 14-year-old. And you're right. And my nephew, who's 14 as well. So we're going to United 2:00 on Sunday, first game of the season. However, I have a couple of irons in the fire at the minute. I'm trying to get 4 tickets to Everton versus Chelsea at Goodison Park on Saturday. I'm trying. Don't tell my wife.
No, say nothing. Say nothing. Yeah, that'd be interesting. You shouldn't have any problem getting those 4 tickets on Saturday anyway. You should just roll a coin in the door, you'll be all right. Just saying.
I have to tell you, they're good fans. They might have a shit football team, but they're decent fans.
Absolutely. Loyal to a T.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd need to be watching that show.
Absolutely. The only other thing we can ask you folks before you leave the chat or before you leave the stream this evening, or if you're looking back on the replay and stuff like that, smash the like, smash the subscribe button. Let's keep the channel growing. We're about to springboard into a new season. There's going to be absolutely tons of content coming up. It's going to be a very busy season. It's going to be an electric season as well.
Niall,
very, very excited for it.
I'm going to offer a prize.
Oh, go on.
I'm going to offer a prize, right?
Yeah.
So here's the prize. This is what you have to do. First of all, you have to be subscribing to our channel. Yeah? Then you have to either follow me on Instagram or friend me on Facebook, yeah?
Yeah.
And then what I want them to do is share the upper tier on their socials. And anyone that does that, I'm going to give someone a €50 free bet.
There we
€50.
go.
Yeah?
What more would you want, folks?
I'll give them till next Monday night. And you have to either follow me on Instagram, you have to follow us on Instagram and our Facebook. You got to subscribe. Once you subscribe and you share us out to your mates. Send us a picture where you've sent into the WhatsApp group with the lads. Have a listen to these 2 fat blokes. They're not bad. I enjoy listening to them. Right? And somebody out there is going to win a €50 free bet for a bookies of your choice. whatever your
There you
local
go.
one is, right?
What more? What more do you want, folks? What more do you want? And you will, for a lot of people, it'll be their first experience of Beat the Bookie and stuff like that, and it is a fun show, because some of the picks at times do be outrageous, and yes, we do definitely at times chase the odds. There's no doubt about it, but mainly for
Absolutely.
charity. I will catch you on Thursday at 8:30. No doubt we'll be talking about your trip coming up and stuff like that, so that should be interesting. Hopefully it's a better luck for you than your previous couple of trips you've gone over.
Last trip was
Yeah.
was a damp 1-1 draw with Leicester. It
Yeah.
wasn't great. It wasn't terrible either, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I am looking forward to though?
Go on.
Having me 2 boys next to me in the Stretford end, and it's going to be 20 degrees on Sunday, so it's shorts on, jerseys on, head to the game. What more could a guy want?
Well, if you're asking me, 2 from Trossard and 2 from Gross will keep me very happy on Sunday, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not even going to get into that at this stage. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see actually. The United one has it's an intriguing one as well, because it's not an easy fixture, and it'll be interesting to see how Eric approaches his first Premier League game. No doubt Sky is going to be all over it as well. There'll be a massive build
We're
up
on
to it and
live on
stuff like
Sky
that.
at 2 o'clock.
There you go. Until next time, folks, we will catch you Thursday. Thanks for tuning in. This has been the Transfer Show. Cheers, bro.
Thanks, brother.